What's going on, guys? Today we're going to run through a couple of different things and kind of take the temperature of the heartbeat of the market and the heartbeat of KASPA at this point in time. We're also going to look at a few charts around election time so that we can kind of get an idea of what exactly is going on right now and what we can potentially expect moving forward. So let's jump right on into it. All right, guys, so first things first, I know I haven't been as consistent in putting out content and videos lately. I have a lot going on in the private life. We've got a baby girl that's being born this weekend, and I had a lot of stuff I got to do leading up to that. I'm probably going to have a few things I got to do after the fact as well. So for the next, week, 2 weeks roughly, I'm going to have a lot going on with a newborn, and I may not be putting out videos as much, but what I do want you guys to know is that at a certain point, once we kind of get in a rhythm with the new baby after she's born, then I'm going to try and get back to roughly everyday videos moving forward from that point on. Also want to start doing a live stream every week as well. We'll pick a day of the week and call it live stream Monday or live stream Friday, whatever it might be. And that way we can get active questions, Q&A type of stuff and all that good stuff. So that is the state of where I'm at right now. Just so you guys know, taking a look at KASPA today, we are sitting at 11 cents exactly, and we are up 5.36 cents for the day. And the market, again, right now, we've got a ton of volatility right now, guys, because we have the US election today. Who knows what's going to happen, but there's always volatility around this time. I want to put some of your guys' minds at ease with the election scenario, because I know there is a assumption out there that if Donald Trump wins the election, then crypto is going to go sky high and we're all going to get rich. And if Kamala Harris wins the election, then crypto is going to go down and be dead forever. And I would argue that whoever ends up winning this election and becoming president of the United States, it's really not going to affect crypto all that much. I don't think it's going to affect it as much as people think it is, because if we go back in time, and I don't want to get too political here, but I want to just make a point before we move on. If we go back in time, in 2017, Donald Trump became president, right? Officially. And we had a bull market, right? Bitcoin went up drastically. I can't remember the percentage. We're not going to go into detail here, but we had a bull market at the end of 2016 into 2017, and we had a blow off top. In 2021, Joe Biden took office, right? Donald Trump, a Republican, Joe Biden, Democrat. And he officially took office in, I believe, 2021, and we had a bull market from 2020, and we had a blow off top in 2021. And now this election, I think no matter who wins, whether it be Donald Trump, whether it be Kamala Harris, we're still going to have a crypto bull market, and we're still going to have a blow off top, just like we've always had, okay? All other issues aside, us investing in crypto, I don't think it's going to matter all that much. Could there be nuances? Could there be more volatility if one or the other, gets elected? Who knows? But I think when it's all said and done, at least the way I like to look at it, based on past occurrences in history, it puts me at ease knowing we've had bull markets with Republican presidents, we've had bull markets with Democrat presidents, and I don't think that this is going to be any different. You got to remember, the market makers are the ones in charge here, and no matter who gets in office, they have more say in the way the markets run than the US president does, and they're not going to want to not have a bull market. They're not going to not want to have a blow off top, because they are going to want their bags to pump, and they are going to want to take their profits when it's all said and done. So no matter who's in office, I don't think it's going to matter. So getting that out of the way, let me know in the comment section though what your guys' take on that scenario is, because I'm interested to hear. But that being said, I think we're covered either way with a big bull market and a big blow off top. So I wouldn't stress too much when it comes to the crypto portion of whether, one or the other wins the election and gets into office. That being said, let's move to a chart here. This is Crypto Rover. He's very active on X, and he has a bunch of charts, but if you look at right before US elections here, since we're on election day, we're going to talk a little bit about it. There's a trap here where we get a red candle, and a trap here where we get a couple red candles. But if you look at what happens after this line in the sand here, when the US elections happened, all we do is go up, and, potentially going up down here for this election. So it's just a lot of volatility around the elections, and then we typically see some upward action. It doesn't necessarily have to start right away, but we do see upward action no matter who's in office, no matter whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. We've had upward action every single time, okay? Remember that when it comes to what we're going to expect from our bags moving forward after today is over. But we also have to remember that typically the time frame for which we get a real true altcoin season where altcoins outperform Bitcoin massively is the year after the halving, which is going to be next year, 2025. Okay, so the rest of this year could be dicey, could be a lot of volatility, could have some more red candles. But just remember that all of these bull markets here happened in the year after the halving. Bitcoin usually runs first, and it will run during the halving year like it already has, but altcoins tend to not really follow and tend to not outperform Bitcoin until the post-halving year, which will be next year. Most of you guys probably know who Ben Cowen is, and he's been right pretty much to a T about this whole entire bear market, okay? He preaches to stay Bitcoin heavy for the majority of the bear market and into the end of the year that we're in right now, because the accumulative altcoin market, remember, that doesn't mean every single altcoin, that means the accumulative. And I believe majority of that is the old dinosaur altcoins like Polkadot, like XRP, like Chainlink, like Ethereum. Those altcoins bleed and have their final capitulation around this time in the cycle, usually. Okay? And what Ben is referring to here is the altcoin reckoning grand finale. Okay? Back here in 2019, 2020, remember monetary policy was the same in 2019 that it is right now, roughly, and they had their final capitulation down to this trend line before we were able to start our big move back up. We also clearly had a black swan event with COVID-19 back here, so we might be able to cancel that out, and maybe we would have just moved straight across here rather than getting this capitulation here. But what he is saying here is that there is still a chance that we get a 30% correction from altcoins from here until the end of the year. And that's the accumulative altcoin market. That doesn't mean KASPA has to go down another 30%. That means KASPA could hold steady while other altcoins bleed, or a mixture of a bunch of different things, okay? But I want you guys to be aware that this is a possibility of happening, because Ben has been calling for a 60% Bitcoin dominance number for 3 years now, and it finally just happened. And everybody was calling him an idiot for 3 years, saying it will never reach 60%, and here it has. It has reached 60%. So he has been right all along, and if you look at this, the altcoins cumulatively as a whole have just been bleeding against Bitcoin since the peak of the last cycle in 2021. That's not all altcoins. Remember, we have done very well with KASPA. We have done very well with other altcoins. It's just everything thrown into a bucket. There's a lot of shit out there, and that is going to bleed drastically, okay? A lot of it will never actually recover, which is why I preach to be in good projects like KASPA, because the tokenomics and everything about it are supreme. I don't think that KASPA is necessarily going to bleed another 30%, although it's possible. So remember that, you guys. The whole entire altcoin market is potentially going to bleed another 30%. And if he is right on this as well, and we hit this trend line, then we have a reset, essentially, in the altcoin market, and we are primed for next year running massively and outperforming Bitcoin while Bitcoin dominance drops like a rock next year. And I think that that's what is probably going to happen and what is expected to happen. We may not make it all the way to this trend line, but I think that there's a good chance that we do with the whole altcoin market here. Put this in the back of your mind that for the remainder of this year, there's a chance that we still get some pretty solid downside from the cumulative altcoin market, okay? And I think KASPA is actually, during this period of time, going to hold up fairly well because it has done a lot of its bleeding already. Does that mean it's guaranteed to hold if the altcoin market bleeds another 30%? No. But I think that it will probably have a lesser downside than a 30% mark if the altcoin market does bleed down 30 more percent, because it's done quite a bit of bleeding already. But we'll see. Okay, we'll see. Always keep in mind that there is potential for more downside. In 2025, I think that we are going to go to the moon. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the heartbeat of KASPA and where we're sitting right now, because a lot of us are worried. A lot of us are, not me, but a lot, I see it in the comment section. I see it all over social media. A lot of people are, saying that KASPA is dead, and we've talked about this before, but when you go take a look at all of the metrics online, nothing has changed, and everything is still moving in a positive direction. So, for instance, the hash rate, it's still making new all-time highs. It's in a massive uptrend still, which tells you that miners are still interested in KASPA. There's still people mining KASPA, and like I've always said in the past, because Bitcoin has done this every single time, and Ethereum, when it used to be proof of work, has done this every time. When the hash rate outpaces the price for periods of time, the price will always catch back up. And that's basically set in stone for good proof of work cryptos. And so I don't think that there's any scenario that we look at when we move into 2025 where this price right here on this chart does not spike and catch up to the hash rate. It's just a matter of time. We know Kraken is about to list KASPA at some point. We think Binance is going to list KASPA at some point. Coinbase isn't stupid, and neither are any of these other exchanges. So whether they're going to list it for free or whether they're going to have to accumulate and buy KASPA ahead of time, if they're planning on listing it, then I believe that they're going to list it once the market turns around for good, when they can capitalize on the FOMO period that we're going to have next year. So I think it's just a matter of time, and we just have to be patient. I always say crypto is a game that we play where you have to have extraordinary amount of patience, and you have to have huge balls, or lady balls again, in order to hold through some of this volatility that we see. And if you can't do that, then you're not going to win at this game that we're playing. So when you know that you're in a good project and you can see the writing on the walls out into the future, then you just have to be patient for everything to come to fruition and the flower to fully bloom. You can't cut the flower too quickly, or you're not going to get to see it in full bloom. And that's what KASPA is, metaphorically, a flower that is still in bloom, and springtime is right around the corner because 2025 should be spring and summer where we get full bloom and we get the markets going crazy to the moon. KASPA is going to be no exception. You think the rest of crypto is going to have a bull market and KASPA is just going to go down? There's a 0% chance of that, pretty much. I mean, let's be honest. It's a new project. It's a new layer one, best technology to ever come out since Bitcoin. And you think that KASPA is just going to go down forever while the rest of the market goes through this massive bull run with a blow off top. All I can do is laugh at that. It's not going to happen. KASPA will make new all-time highs, and KASPA will do what they say they're going to do, and in time, have a blow off top with the rest of the crypto market come the end of 2025. I guarantee it. You just have to be patient. You just have to get through the volatility, okay? Now, we have an article here from Medium that I also want to talk about, and this is an opinion piece, so it's not set in stone by any means here. I'm not going to read the whole article. I will link it in the description if you guys want to read it. Not actually very long, but what it's essentially saying is that KASPA is set up for smart contracts to launch in Q1 of 2025. I don't know if that is enough time for native smart contracts to be able to launch, but if we go back in time to what Shai had said in a piece that I made a video on months ago now, he mentioned that once KASPA moves into full Rust nodes, which we have done, then 10 blocks per second will be able to happen fairly quickly. And they're in testnet right now. From what we understand, the 10 blocks per second is on the verge of happening. We don't know exactly a time frame yet, but it's getting pretty close. And then he said once that 10 blocks per second has been implemented, then smart contracts will come fairly quickly after that. You know, fairly quickly is a relative term depending on what you're looking at, but I guess what I'm trying to say here is it's a possibility. I don't know if it's probable that it's going to happen in Q1 of 2025. That would be great because then we would have native smart contracts and KRC20 for the bull run, and that would just bring in a lot more volume, a lot more interest, a lot more projects building outside of just meme coins, and you know, would potentially be able to bring the KASPA price even higher when we get to the market top in the end of 2025. But I just wanted to bring this to your guys' attention that, you know, Frank Jacob, I don't even know who this guy is, so online reporter who unveils captivating stories from the digital landscape. Like, that doesn't tell me anything about him, but whether what he says carries any weight or not, I don't know. But Medium is a pretty big exchange. I believe anybody's probably allowed to write and post on Medium, but it's something to at least think about, okay? And open your eyes to the fact that there's a possibility that, you know, we might be able to get smart contracts before the end of the 2025 bull cycle. We'll see. Right? We're not saying that anything is official here. We're just saying that this guy's opinion, and you know, it's being written about, so maybe he knows something, maybe he doesn't, I don't know. But something to think about. That would be pretty impactful for KASPA and for KASPA's price in this bull cycle if we can get native smart contracts to launch and to be successful sometime in the first half of 2025. So that's all I want to talk about today, guys. Like I mentioned before, videos might be a little sporadic for the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'm going to try and get out as many as I can, but we are having a baby girl this weekend, and I am going to play it by ear on how often I can actually get to the computer to film. So at a certain point in time, like I mentioned earlier, I will get into a better rhythm of potentially getting videos out on roughly a daily basis, and I want to start doing some live streams here and there. So, moral of the story here, guys, KASPA is not dying, and KASPA will have a bull cycle and will make new all-time highs, and will go well beyond all-time highs with the rest of the crypto market this cycle. So, pack your damn bags before it's too late. I will see you in the next video. Peace out.